Sheila, thank you for joining us here this morning. This is going to be, no doubt, a low expectations quarter. There's still a lot of questions, and it's the first time truly that investors and analysts will be able to hear from and speak with CEO Dave Calhoun. What are your expectations, and what should we be looking out for when these earnings cross the tape and when we hear from Mr. Calhoun today?
Thanks, Courtney. I feel like we were where Apple was today a year ago. So very different picture today for Boeing. It's not going to be a good quarter. The free cash flow outflow for Q4 is not going to be pretty. We have about $5.5 billion, and we have commercial aircraft margins given no delivery of the MAX at 1%. Remember, a year ago, they were almost hitting 16% margins. So a very dim picture for what Q4 looks like. And of course, what we're expecting is concessions to the airlines reported today. We're expecting a pretty hefty number of $11 billion, as well as additional charges that they're going to take for the inefficiencies associated with the production halts. So we're expecting that number to be about $5.4 billion. They've already taken about $3.6 billion in charges.
Mr. Calhoun, of course, is new to this role. Most people seem to be giving him the benefit of the doubt. It seems that there have been some forward-looking discussions with some government officials. What are you most interested in hearing from him when it comes to the timeline of the recertification of the MAX? Do you want him to give you a tentpole time, or do you want to not know unless he's really certain that that time is going to be met?
I think it's fair to say that nobody's been able to predict that this would last almost a year. The company is given a very loose guidance of mid-year ungrounding and return to service. I would prefer if there's no more time associated with that, because that communication message has seemed to have caused multiple degradation for obvious reasons. So I think just focusing on executing and getting the aircraft off the ground, as well as getting that inventory out of there, is the main focus rather than any sort of messaging on timing.
What is the bigger picture plan, do you think, from Boeing if passengers, once it gets recertified, are weary of getting on that plane? I mean, Bill LeBeau has told us, look, like, they can't scrap it. This is a major product for them. It's too late to start over. But what happens if you get passengers that just won't fly on it?
Phil is right. It is too late to start over because these development programs take a decade. So, and the engine technology isn't there for the next aircraft anyway. So you really can't go back. I think, it will take time for passengers to get on. There'll be pricing discounts associated with it. And as the aircraft gets back and they're off the ground for 6 months and is flying for 6 months, a year, I think it'll become less of a point. And let's not forget, there have been Airbus accidents that have had, during development programs, that have had accidents. So I think that this, obviously is not common and should not be. I think over time, as the safety record of the aircraft gets better, it should be okay for the customer's perception of the aircraft as well. And I think this process with the FAA has gone on for quite some time, making the aircraft safer. So it has had the opposite view for the consumer, who thinks it's actually less safe.